thank you, Kristen, not just for introducing me and hosting this incredible symposium, but to you and your extraordinary team for the amazing work you're doing globally in supporting professionals to help support people on the autism spectrum, autism communities. And I'm just so delighted and thrilled to be a part of this symposium. So, Kristen spoke about the importance of co-production, and that's an incredible value for me personally and professionally. So you see the name there, Secret Agent Society, cracking the code of social encounters. That Secret Agent Society name actually was determined by children with autism. I originally thought Junior Detective Training Program would be an awesome name for this program, and they were kind of like, meh, not so sure about that. So, I think for those who are working as professionals and researchers, having that co-production mindset in every touch point, every element of what we do is so critical. And so I need to start by acknowledging that name and honoring young people with autism who actually said, you know what, this sounds a bit better than Junior Detective Training Program. So I did want to disclose initially, I am the initial founder and author of Secret Agent Society program, and I do receive royalty payments on the sale of program materials and practitioner training courses. So I wanted to set the scene today by showing these two images and having you think about, when you look at these two pictures, what do you see? What do you think might be going on? So I want to give you a moment just to look at the image on the left of the screen, the image on the right, and just reflect on, like, what do you think's happening there? So some of the thoughts that might come to mind, let's start with the picture on the left. Maybe the girl who has her hands over her face is really upset and distressed. She doesn't want to hang out with the other two kids there. Maybe they're excluding her. She wanted to join in the Frisbee game and they're kind of like, no, sorry. Or maybe she wanted to play something else. Maybe she did join in the Frisbee game and they said, oh, you dropped it, so you're out. And she's like, no, I don't think I am out. So the key point of that is, like, there's lots of ways we can interpret that situation. Then if we shift to the situation on the right, where we see the kids playing a game of Uno and the child in the background kind of looks a little bit sad or maybe bored, right? Even reading his facial expression, body posture, there's a bit of ambiguity there in this one little snapshot. What do we think happened there? Is it that this child was left out of the game? Is it he really wanted to play something else and the other kids are like, no, we want to play Uno? Is it that he got out and said, I don't want to play this anymore? So I think a very important thing to keep in mind for all of this is there can be a lot of ambiguity in reading social situations and figuring out, what's the best way to respond. And all of us, I would encourage to think about from the child's perspective. Like, in these different pictures, there's a lot that could be going on for those children who seem to kind of be away from the rest of the group. And so, what is it what are their needs in that moment? And how can they best have those needs met? And, that is the lens we very much try and work from in what we do with Secret Agent Society. So what is the Secret Agent Society? Secret Agent Society is a small group program. It is evidence-based, so there are 11 publications showing how this can support the upskilling and empowerment of children with autism, as well as parents and teachers who support them. And 4 of those trials are what we call randomized controlled trials. So, in terms of different trial designs, randomized controlled trials are often considered the gold standard because they help us to control for other factors that may explain improvements that we may see for young people who have autism. The program was specifically developed for and with 8 to 12-year-olds with autism, a diagnosis of ADHD and/or anxiety disorders, or often sort of a combination of any of those conditions. And the program's been shown to improve children's ability to manage and express feelings, particularly of anxiety and anger, in more helpful ways, improve their social interaction skills so they can make and keep friends, which a lot of the kids we work with is a big motivation. Behaviors that kind of get in the way of their learning engagement with community, so helping to improve those. And some of our very recent research has actually shown for those kids who have ADHD, we also see an improvement in those sort of hyperactive behaviors, which is very interesting. The program adopts a team around the child approach. So as well as upskilling children to achieve the goals and aspirations that they set for themselves, we're also upskilling and empowering parents, school staff, and clinicians to kind of work with the child, share a common language to help them to achieve their potential. And this is all delivered via an integrated online platform, which you're going to see a little sneak peek of a little bit later in my presentation today. So I really wanted to speak about the importance of personal empowerment and the role that plays within this program. So one of the first activities that kids do when they first come to their first child club meeting is what we call deciding on the bionic powers that they would like to boost. And what this means is like personal goal setting. What are the things that they want for themselves in their own lives? And we do this by them kind of choosing virtual stickers and creating some of their own around what are the things that matter to them? What are the things that really count? And you can see an example here of the Bionic Powers virtual card that was made by a 10-year-old girl that was in one of our groups. And you can see, you know, there's things like having fun, doing well at things she cares about. There are also goals like getting cool sunglasses. How do I have conversations with mum and dad about getting cool sunglasses? For this girl who also had some challenges around attention and focus, she also wanted to try and notice stuff more. She realized that one of the issues she was having with friends is she wasn't tuning in to what they were saying. She'd miss it, and then she'd be kind of lost as to how to join the conversation. So this is really the foundation we start from around kids setting their own goals, and then us giving them tools and strategies and a support team around them to help them achieve those, not just during the course of a short program, but over the course of their entire life. So a lot of people are like, well, what are these skills that are taught in order to help children achieve that huge range of different goals and priorities they may set for themselves? So the foundational level, which you see shown in gray on the slide here, is really teaching kids skills in how to recognize emotions in other people, from facial expression, voice tone, and body posture clues, and also how to recognize emotions within themselves from their body clues and thoughts. So from that foundation, we then move to kind of the second level of the hierarchy of skills. So then we teach kids skills around relaxation gadgets or strategies or tools that they can use to help them feel happier, calmer, and braver. So we have a particular focus on anxiety and frustration, because we found working with young people, parents, teachers, and clinicians, that they're often amongst the emotions that most get in the way of kids connecting with others. They're really scared to approach others because they're worried they don't know what to say, they don't know what to do. Maybe they've experienced rejection or bullying in the past, and also frustration when maybe things don't go the way they'd like. Like, these kids said I was out in Foursquare, but I don't think I am. And so I don't want to play with them anymore. I don't want to be their friend anymore. So how do we kind of move past those tense moments that we all have in our relationships with others so that we can repair the situation and continue to build friendships? And when I talk about the different elements of the program, you'll see we do this from the lens of upskilling the young person on the spectrum, but also aim to educate, support, and empower peers, school staff in their understanding and celebration of strengths of young people on the spectrum as well. From relaxation gadgets, we move to our third tier of skills, which is more around social interaction skills. So one of the core tenets or principles of Secret Agent Society is it's really hard to make and keep friends if you can't figure out how you and others are feeling, and if you can't figure out how to manage big feelings, right? Even if you know the steps of how to have a half decent conversation with someone, if they say something that upsets you or you disagree with, and that sparks emotions in you that are big and tough, if you can't manage those emotions, it's very hard to kind of move towards making and keeping friends, or having other major relationships in your life go the way you may like. So we move to kind of exploring each individual child's values around what they're looking for in a friend. What are the qualities that matter most? And there's no right or wrong answer to that, but it's important that kids have clarity on that. So that informs their decision-making around who they're going to try and approach and engage with, who's kind of showing up as someone who really appreciates and values them. And so that's someone who might make a great friend and someone you enjoy hanging out with. And also the importance of friendship strengths. Friendship isn't an all or nothing phenomena, right? The way that we hang out, what we say, what we do with our best friend looks kind of different to what we might do with a kind of friend that we don't know so well. And so for young people with autism, there can be this challenge around, like, someone seems nice to them and kind to them and they seem to enjoy it. And so there's this intense wanting to engage with them all the time. And if they don't respond to a text message straight away, well, they're not my friend anymore. So understanding that, generally friendships develop gradually. And so along that journey, we can reevaluate, is this someone I'm still enjoying hanging out with? Or maybe there's not such a great connection there. Maybe I can, broaden my friendship circle beyond just focusing on one person, because that can put too much pressure on the friendship as well. So from identifying what are the qualities that matter most, it's important to have skills in order to develop and nurture those friendships. And so, we kind of teach kids some skills that can lead to more successful connection with others around how to talk and have conversations with them, how to play or hang out with them, how to do group work in class, which can be, troubling and distressing for some people with autism or some children with autism, how to cope with mistakes or feelings of confusion when you don't know what to do or things didn't go to plan, how to tell the difference between friendly joking and mean teasing. And that can be hard for all kids, whether they're neurodivergent or not. Preventing and managing bullying. So this is obviously a much bigger issue than just putting the responsibility on the child's shoulders. This is also providing resources, tools, and guidance to teachers, school administrators, other support staff, and very importantly, peers of the child. So we're addressing this in a holistic way. And also coping with transitions and new situations, which can be really tough for kids with autism. So that's a very brief snapshot of the skills that we're aiming to kind of help these children learn so they can achieve the goals they set for themselves. So how do we do this? There are a number of different program elements, and obviously I only have a little bit of time today to give you a snapshot of these, but I did want to talk them through so you can understand how they all fit together as sort of an integrated program. So the first is a multi-level video game. So the idea is that the kids play this video game each week between their weekly club meetings, and it's used as a pre-teaching tool essentially. So the idea is that they play the video game and learn about some of these skills in sort of a fun, self-paced way. Then they come to their weekly child club meetings, which are typically 90-minute weekly club meetings, to practice these skills with other cadets in their club meetings. So typically we have 4 to 6 cadets in a group, 1 to 2 club leaders, or in a school delivery context, sometimes the program is delivered as 18 45-minute sessions, because that tends to sometimes work better within a school schedule. We also have weekly parent group meetings. So in these meetings, parents are coached on, hey, this is what your child's learning in the program this week. Here's some tips and strategies on how you can help them put these skills into action when they need them at home or in other environments, like when they go to basketball practice, for example. There's also weekly teacher tip sheets. So school staff supporting the child get weekly updates on, hey, here's what the child's learning. Here's some tips on how you can help them put these skills into action in class or at break time if they're struggling. And very importantly, here's also some tips on how you can build your school community, your classroom community, so that it celebrates neurodiversity, it acknowledges the strengths, upskilling and empowering peers on how best to acknowledge and celebrate the strengths of a young person on the autism spectrum. And then, more skills and tools that can be used in a school context to celebrate, support neurodiversity, as well as specific skills training and support for those kids who maybe are having some more challenges in navigating day-to-day life at school, or cracking the code of social encounters, as we often call it. Also, we have weekly missions built into the program. So these are skills practice tasks that the kids are assigned each week so that they learn a skill in the video game, they practice it in their small group club meeting, then they put it into action in daily life through these missions and try it out. So for example, a mission might be try and use your relaxation gadgets to calm down when you're feeling anxious or angry this week. And then they answer questions about how they went in a secret agent journal section of the video game. Now, those questions, whilst we don't ever call them homework, but those questions are really designed to promote the child's self-awareness of, hey, this stuff actually helps me. I'm feeling calmer. I'm not getting in trouble so much. I seem to be connecting and getting along better with other kids. So it helps build their intrinsic motivation to keep practicing these skills to achieve the goals they set in the first club meeting, even though sometimes those skills can be hard. They can be boring. You know, for all of us, learning new things is tough. And so building that intrinsic motivation is very important. And that's where the missions come in, as well as practicing. It's building self-awareness that this stuff actually helps. I'm going to keep trying it. The final component of the program is what we call the skill tracker app. So we do want to be tracking kids' progress through the program. Are they learning and applying these skills? Are they maybe using them more at school than at home, or vice versa? And is that a problem? Do we need to change the environment a little bit more so that we can support and empower them to use the skills more in a different environment? So we have an application that's available or built into the program where kids, parents, school staff, and clinicians can kind of track kids' use of target skills from the program at home and school and in other environments on a weekly basis to see how well the skills are generalizing from the small group club meetings to everyday situations outside of our club meeting room. And all of this is housed on an integrated platform, which you'll see very, very shortly. So to start with, I wanted to show a very brief clip of the Secret Agent Society video game. So you can get a feel for what this looks like. What is it that kids play? Remember, this is played each week before their weekly club meeting as a pre-teaching tool. So level 1 of the video game really teaches kids skills in how to recognize emotions in other people from facial expression, voice tone, and body posture clues. Level 2 focuses on teaching them on emotion recognition within themselves from their body clues and their thoughts, and also teaches them about different strengths of emotion. Like what we do to try and cope when we're really angry looks a little different to what we do if we're just a little annoyed. It furthermore teaches them, how do we piece together all these pieces of the puzzle? How do we piece together information about the context or situation, body clues information within ourselves, clues around how others are feeling? How do we pull all that together so we can kind of read a social situation accurately and decide how we want to respond? And then level 3 of the video game teaches kids skills in how do we manage emotions that show up in social situations and think about different ways of solving social problems. In level 4, they graduate from the International Secret Agent Society headquarters. So without further ado, let me show you a very brief video clip of the video game, and then we're also going to have a look at this integrated program delivery platform that facilitators use to deliver the program.
Please enter the International Secret Agent Society headquarters, where you will begin your training.
Welcome to the International Training Headquarters. You'll be training here with 4 other rookies. Your mentor special agent, Agent Arden, will give you clues for your training missions.
Your mission is to find the black bandits as quickly as possible. Use your night vision lenses to find the criminals. What was that?
I need urgent backup. The thieves are planning to strike tonight.
Will do, Junior Detective. Congratulations on a job well done.
To successfully graduate from this academy, you will need to complete a 3-level program that teaches you how to decode people's thoughts and feelings. You will be given home missions to complete between training sessions and asked to document these in a secret agent journal.
Hi, my name's Tim. I'm new to the school.
Junior Detective, try activating the shield and muted bullet attachments on your handheld PC.
Nice try, boys. But it looks like the joke is on you.
I don't think so, nerd brain.
Remember, take some slow breaths, stay calm and in control.
Working as a team, determine who committed the crime, unscramble the letters, and use this to help solve the mystery.
We're going to play the Android adventure game on our handheld PCs. Who would you like to play first?
I guess I'll give it a go.
At least I gave it a go.
Your mission is to engage in an air combat attack. Shoot down the enemy aircrafts before they strike you.
This is terrible. I'm hopeless at this.
I want to get out of here! What should your character do to calm down?
Okay, I'll try my best.
All right, so that gives you a little bit of a feel for what the video game looks like. Now, you remember I mentioned that's just one small piece of a much bigger integrated support system for this program. So we have an online program delivery platform that has this integrated facilitator, child, caregiver, and school staff portals for delivering program content, supporting skill application. This online platform also tracks and reports children's skill learning, their engagement in the program, in the video game, and how well they're going with putting these skills into action at home and at school and in other environments. There's an 14-hour on-demand facilitator training course, so facilitators are upskilled. There's real live video demonstrations of program delivery, quizzes, interactive, scenarios around how would you deal with this challenge if it came up in delivering the group. And the whole platform is Mac and PC compatible. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time before we kind of talk about, what might be some challenges in doing this work around upskilling and empowering kids with skills to connect with others and also manage emotions. Like, let's see what this platform looks like and then talk to what are some of the challenges and what are some tips on how to manage them. All right. So here you can see the Facilitator Dashboard, and I'm just going to briefly orient you to the different parts of this. On the home screen, you can see here my groups. So this is a list of my current Secret Agent Society groups that I'm running, as well as some past groups. And you can click on Cadet Overview to see a list of the different children in each group, and also to be able to see their progress, both in terms of session attendance and engagement in session activities, as well as completion of video game content, the weekly missions that I mentioned, and also to kind of engage and look at their skill tracker progress in practically applying the skills they're learning in the program at home and at school. If we go to My Training, this allows you to access the online SAS Facilitator training course, as well as some information on navigating the software. My SAS Provider lists the organisation that a clinician or educator that's trained in Secret Agent Society is associated or affiliated with. SAS Digital HQ gives the clinician or educator details of their login for the SAS video game. My Groups, again, lists the groups, both current and past, and indicates by clicking on Cadet Overview the children in the group and their progress through the different components of the program. Group meetings, so I can actually go to one of my groups. So my Winter Wednesday group, I'm actually going to be running one of the sessions for this tomorrow. You can see a list of the content of all the past club meetings, both child cadet club meetings and parent group meetings that have been delivered to date, and how many children and parents attended. And then you can also see here the upcoming schedule meetings. So tomorrow, Wednesday, I have a child club cadet meeting scheduled for 4:15 and a concurrent parent group meeting that's being run at 4:15. And then the final of the weekly club meetings is going to be the week after. You can see module 9 listed here. You can see also in terms of being able to send an automatic reminder to the club members of the time and upcoming group session. You can prepare content, so previewing the content for upcoming club meetings so the facilitator can prepare. The facilitator manual, if you're wanting a lot more detailed content for delivering a particular module of the program, this is where the facilitator can come. Also, we have assessment materials to track children's progress through the program, so both in terms of assessing their initial social emotional skill profile, but then reevaluating what progress they've made over the course of the program and at 3 and 6 month follow-up. So you can see there's child, parent and teacher questionnaire booklets at different time points. Children and parents and teachers can complete this online and their progress is saved within the portal. So you can see get link and share, they can do it now, or old school printing and writing if the parent, teacher and or facilitator prefers that. So there's an inbuilt framework for tracking progress through the program. A range of other resources. So I'm just going to go into the practice sessions part here so you can get a little bit of a sneak peek and feel for what the content looks like in terms of what kids see on the screens of their devices as they go through Secret Agent Society in the club meeting, and also what the facilitator sees. And also we're going to have a look at what the parents see in the parent group meetings. So if we go into the practice cadet session, we can see here typically the cadets' names are listed where you've got Cadet 1, Cadet 2 and Cadet 3 at the top of the screen. We set a token target for each weekly child club meeting. So within the weekly child club meetings, whether they be delivered virtually or in person, there's a token target that's set, and kids are awarded tokens in the club meeting for following the club rules. So things like, you know, using a calm, kind face, voice, words and actions, keeping comments brief and on topic, those sort of club rules. And then there can be specific target skills assigned to cadets based on the unique social challenges they face. So if Cadet 1, for example, has a lot of trouble with talking too much and listening to others, one of their specific target skills might be wait to be asked before sharing your ideas, and they may be given extra tokens by the program facilitator for doing that particular skill. So you can see here the facilitator can add tokens to cadets and they will see those added on their screens as they go through the program and as they try their best to participate, stay focused. The facilitator clicks on this share button, you can see on the left panel here, to share the content on the devices or on the screens of the devices of the other cadets. And this gives you a little bit of a feel of what some of that content looks like. And then there's also turn-taking controls that the facilitator can assign different cadets turns for different activities. On this screen, it will say wait, prepare, or active. So as an example, we've got wait here and active for Cadet 3. And then the facilitator can actually see exactly what's on the cadet screen by clicking on the tab here for a given cadet. So you can see here it shows the facilitator exactly what the cadet sees on screen and they're waiting and listening. You'll also notice with these cadets listed up the top that there's different colored bars. So the facilitator knows that if there's a green bar above the cadet's name, they have this Secret Agent Society platform forefront and center. It's what they're focusing on their screen. If there's a yellow bar, it means they might actually be looking at something else on this screen in the foreground and just have this in the background. So they may not be focusing as well as they should be. That's really important if you're running particularly virtual sessions. Kids are logged on Zoom at home. You can't get a good read of whether they are participating and engaging in session. If you see a yellow bar, you know they've got something else open. So you can prompt them to close that and to refocus on the session activity or content. The red bar means that the child is not logged onto the platform, so they might need some tech support to get logged on. So that gives you a little bit of a feel of, some of the different games, activities. So this one's detection of the expression, detecting how other people feel from facial expression and body posture clues. So a little bit like charades. There's a range of other games and activities. So this one's about detecting body clues that signal feelings of anger or anxiety. But that gives you a little bit of a feel of the controls the facilitator has. So they click share on the preview screen, and then that content is shown on the screens of the devices that children either bring to their in-person club meetings or log on to virtually. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a feel of what facilitators and kids are actually looking at in session. Now, the parent group meetings and what parents see on their devices is very similar, right? So you can see on the left here, we have a preview thumbnail of each of the different slides that facilitators will be showing in session, and they click share to share the slide with parents, both in child and club meetings. Also, facilitators can add extra content by clicking on a plus button. They can select a type of slide type, so they might choose a blank slide, a text slide, a drawing activity. So this allows for customization based on the learning profiles of children in a group or even parents in a group. They can have a stress ball picture if they know it's a competitive game or activity and kids need a reminder to use their relaxation skills or strategies to stay calm. So as well as there being sort of structured content for an evidence-based interventions, there's also a lot of customization available as well. So that's a very sneak peek. Again, for the parents, they can see who's got the content of the platform in the foreground on their screen, who might be trying to do a sneaky work email on the side or looking at other things where the content's in the background, and then parent 3 isn't actually logged on to the portal. All right, so in the resources section, there's also all the different teacher tip sheets that facilitators can access. There's a button that they click on at the end of a given child club meeting to notify all the teachers to log into their section of the portal and access the relevant teacher tip sheet that goes with the session they just delivered. There's also a range of intake support paperwork to help them with planning the program for each session. Also the program registration form, a template intake interview for cadets or children, caregivers, as well as school staff or teachers. Templates and handouts for a range of different activities if people are wanting a hard paper copy, as well as engaging in the activity online. Session checklists, a help section where there's video tutorials on how to use the online platform and different dimensions of it, as well as frequently asked questions. All right, so that gives you a bit of a very quick overview of the different elements of the Facilitator Portal. We also have the Mentor Portal, the Child Cadet login, the teacher login, so all of this is integrated in one place. And previously, all of the games and activities and program materials were created in hard copy. But with COVID-19, that really was an impetus to translate everything into this online platform to ensure accessibility of the program via telehealth during COVID and beyond, beyond just face-to-face program delivery. So with the time I've got left, I just very briefly want to talk a little bit about theory, evidence, and troubleshooting. So in terms of the theoretical framework that underlies this program, there's a range of different theories that this draws on. The theory of mind theory speaks to some of the challenges that children with autism can sometimes have with perspective taking, with walking in others' shoes. So we do teach skills around that perspective taking, but also perspective taking for neurotypical peers around understanding the strengths and differences in how people on the spectrum might process, and everyone's different. So there's no one size fits all. Also, for children on the spectrum, there can be an increased focus on detail at the expense of the big picture. And sometimes the details that these kids focus on aren't the important social information that's needed to be able to read a social situation accurately. So within the program, we're teaching them those skills and how to accurately read a social situation so then they can be empowered to decide how they want to respond. Executive functioning. So for a lot of the kiddos that we work with, we see that particularly when they get very anxious or overwhelmed, it's like the frontal lobes of their brain shut down and they're not able to think of different ways to respond to situations. It's kind of like fight or flight. Like they either shut down, or I know one kiddo I worked with, whenever there was a math test, he'd just flee the room and go hang out in the school psychologist's office. And so what we're trying to do is help the kids learn skills to kind of calm down and then think more flexibly about how to solve social situations in a way that has the best outcome for themselves as well as others. We're also looking at triggers and outcomes for certain behaviors that kind of, may be disruptive or distressing for the child. So are there things in the environment that really aren't setting them up for success in terms of them feeling overwhelmed with sensory stimuli, for example? How do others respond to these behaviors? What can we do to shift those factors to set this child up for success? Cognitive behavior therapy. So empowering the child with skills to calm down, like we talk about the O2 regulator or slow breathing to calm down, but also thinking in more helpful ways. Actor acceptance and commitment therapy really speaks to connecting with the child and family's values around what do they want? What are their priorities? What are the things that matter most to them? So that then they're choosing to focus on skills from the program that align with those goals and values. Also, as that applies to friendships and deciding who they want to connect with. And acceptance and commitment therapy also gives the child skills around, some kids are like, I don't want to change my thoughts. They're my thoughts. We're sticking with those thoughts. We're not trying to change them, challenge them, do any of that stuff. So it might be like, okay, well, is that thought helping you right now? Maybe imagining it floating away as if it's printed on the wings of a paper plane, what we call the skill tracker. Letting that thought float away and refocusing on what you need to do in the moment may be a better way for a child to kind of, interact with their thoughts in a way that's helpful. Also looking at child developmental literature around what are the skills that really help kids to build meaningful friendships and connections with others, and using that to guide like the suite of different skills and strategies that are taught in the program. So if we look at the evidence base, there are 18 published papers on secret agent society from 12 different trials, 4 of which are randomized controlled trials. What does SAS do? It improves kids' abilities to socially connect with others. So the skills to kind of help them stay calm, feel happier, calmer, and braver, and make friends and keep them is typically how we present this. Also behaviors that can be disruptive, distressing for them or others. And more recently, I spoke to, for those kids who also have hyperactivity or symptoms around that, we can see significant improvements. And that's the results from our latest randomized controlled trial. Now, accessibility is at the heart of what we do. So a lot of our research isn't just done in university contexts, it's done in schools, it's done in clinics, it's done through telehealth for rural and remote families and other families during COVID as well. So the research or evidence base speaks to the effectiveness of the program across those different settings. And very importantly, results have shown improvements are not only maintained 1 year after the program ends, but enhanced, which is an amazing outcome in terms of kids may be intellectually learning the skills during the program, but then suddenly, other kids are engaging, connecting more with them, they're feeling happier and calmer. And so we sort of see this upward spiral of ongoing skill development even after those weekly sessions end. So with the time I've got left, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what are some of the challenges in delivering a group program, whether it be Secret Agent Society or some other program to children with autism. And so some of the challenges that those of you online may have already experienced or could anticipate, like how do we keep the kids interested and actively engaged, particularly when it's not their turn? In conversational turn taking. So recently in my groups, we've had a lot of chit chat around Pokemon. And so there's a place for that. I want the kids to be there and have fun, but how do we balance that with kind of skills training in other areas and kids being on talk overload, particularly if they're interests that other kids in the group don't share? Managing anxiety, worry. This is a new group situation. Dealing with transitions between the different activities in the group sessions. Managing anger and frustration. Maybe you don't win one of the competitive challenges in the group. How do you cope with that? Or another kid has more tokens than you. How do you deal with that? And then how do we get skill generalization beyond the group setting to everyday context? And so it's the final two that I want to just end my session today with some tips and strategies for you. So prevention is always best when we're thinking about some of these challenges that can be really upsetting for the kid and also make it harder to kind of help set the group up to be able to optimally engage, have fun and learn. So if you do notice warning signs that a child comes into session, they're, frowning, the jaw's clenched, their tone of voice is a little on edge, like just take the time to take them aside and go, hey, is everything okay? If you had a tough day, taking that time in a preventative way to help the child kind of calm down and be able to engage is going to save so much time, energy, and prevent distress for that little person relative to trying to push through and like, this is the start for our session, let's go. So you may, if you know there's a topic that's going to trigger some big emotions, bullying is one. Target skills for that child to receive their tokens for the session are around them using their relaxation gadgets that they learned earlier in the program to stay calm. And if you do detect early warning signs that they're starting to get upset, prompting them to do that and be very specific, like what are the specific helpful thoughts they can think? What are the specific strategies they can use? Then praising and rewarding those skills with tokens. Now, if the anger does escalate, that child needs a break. Trying to push through with teaching when they're really upset is only going to lead to them becoming more upset and the group kind of being derailed. So if they do become really dysregulated and upset, hey, let's stay calm, very calmly direct them to an area where they can calm down that has accessible strategies that they're willing to use. And we call that the chill out zone, which can be set up in a child club meeting room, also at school. Very importantly, acknowledge the child's perspective. Okay, I get why this is so upsetting. I know you really wanted to win this Challenger board game. Let's take a little moment to calm down and then we can figure out how to move forward from here. So also once the child's come, now that may not be at the end of that club meeting, it might be the next week, getting them to come in a little early before the next club meeting, discussing with them what happened, understand their perspective on what happened, what changes can be made to prevent them getting frustrated in the future. So can we set up an activity where we're not so triggering for their distress or upset, and what can they do differently to stay calm? So I just want to show a very brief video of a child getting upset with our helpful thought zapper game, and then the idea of debriefing with them around what could they do different next time to try and stay calm. Oops.
I can choose to stay calm or in control.
I have enough.
No, wait, I can't control myself. Yeah, I can't control myself.
I got no friends.
I can't do this.
It's okay. It's fine.
All right, so you can see that was the former version of the program that had the physical game and then the debriefing discussion with that child. So let's talk about what happened with the helpful thought game. And we can use the scene generator in the computer game to go through it together. So first of all, I'd like you to choose a person from the different characters that are shown to represent you. Great. Now, how are you feeling towards the end of that helpful thought game? Yeah, you looked pretty mad. Right, now I'd like you to think about what were you thinking when you were feeling mad about the game. So if you can go to add action and choose a thought bubble and add it to your character, and you can type in that thought bubble what you were thinking when you were getting really mad and angry. Okay, so you were thinking, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can understand when you think that, you do get really angry and frustrated. So let's clear the picture and develop a game plan for what you could do next time so that you can feel calmer when you're playing games like the helpful thought game. Okay? All right, so again, let's add a person. That's you. And this time we want you to feel calmer. So you can see that person looks a little bit calmer, doesn't he? Yeah. So let's go to add action. And what can you do to feel calmer? What are some of the relaxation gadgets we've learned about? Great. So breathing slowly. That's one that would be really helpful in that situation. All right, what about a helpful thought you could think instead? So before you said, I can't do this, let's go up and add a thought of what might be a more helpful thought. You can type in a thought that would help you feel a little bit more calmer and help you to enjoy the game a bit more.
I can still have fun.
That's a really good, helpful thought. I can still have fun. So if you were to think, I can still have fun, instead of, I can't do this, how do you think you'd feel?
Pretty good, because I don't always have to win.
That's right. Excellent. All right, so I know I'm over time. I'm about 1 minute away from wrapping up. So let me just finish with what I think is probably the most important part of this presentation, which is how do we get kids to take the skills they learn in a group program and put it into action where they need it, at school, at home, in other settings. So whatever program you're delivering, you want to think about how can we upskill and support parents and school staff so they know what the kids are learning and how they can help them, having practice missions or activities for the child to use the skills in other settings and self-evaluate how they help, and then having a mechanism of tracking and rewarding them that involves children, parents, and school staff, so that initially you might need a bit of extra external motivation before the internal motivation kicks in. In the SES, we have a skill tracker app where each week there are target skills that parents set for their child based on what's learnt in the program and their priorities for their child. Children, parents, and school staff log on and add credits as the child uses skills, and those credits are exchanged for a home-based reward. And we also have an interactive PDF document version for those families who don't like the online tracker. If you are looking for other evidence-based tools, for younger kids, there's a program called EmotiPlay, which is software-based and teaches emotion recognition. For teenagers, you may have heard of the Peers curriculum, great evidence-based programs for teens. And then finally, I just wanted to say a very big thank you, particularly to the families, children, caregivers, clinicians, colleagues, and educators who I work with. If you want to find out more about the program, the URL or website is shown there for the organisation that distributes it, which is part of the Autism Cooperative Research Centre in Australia. And a very big thank you to Weill Cornell Medicine and all my colleagues there who are great clinical kind of champions and supporters in delivering this and getting this out to families, and also supporting a lot of the research that we've been doing recently. Thank you very much.